Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rewilded Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lydia Joy, and happy fall as well, and happy Libra season. We made another transition since the last time I chatted with you. I want to talk briefly about the equinox because we had quite a change in light recently. This is important to talk about because of what I covered in last week's episode about our circadian biology. And the fall equinox was on September 22nd. And if you're paying attention, the shift is very measurable. And here's how. So for me, I've been tracking it. I've been tracking the change in the sunrise time because I like to go for sunrise walks in the morning. When I was at the beach, I was paying super close attention so I could get down to the beach and know exactly when to see the sunrise because it's really epic on the beach. And then, of course, the sunset time and even the window during the day when we have enough adequate light at the right angle, right UVI to help us make that sun to skin conversion of vitamin D. And, the window is shortening, right? Because we are shifting. So, we're moving towards those shorter days where we have less available daylight, less available light in the sense of the ability to make that sun to skin conversion, where the sun's angle is changing, right? And this begins to affect us. Now, I don't mean it's all bad, right? It's not like we're doomed. But if you are not living in circadian alignment and paying attention and working on this all year long, it might be a little more stark for people starting in the fall and heading into the winter where they feel things differently in their body and in their health, right? We can notice shifts in our metabolism, our energy, our sleep patterns, our mood. Not necessarily going to be bad things per se. It's just we are shifting because nature is, right? So a lot of people aren't paying attention to this. They're not even really aware that this happens truly. And these are fundamental changes in our light environment that we weren't trained or taught to pay attention to. And so, I find that people are not focused on that foundation properly, right? Instead, a lot of people are out there like rabbit hole researching every possible supplement and protocol and symptom and, whatever on the internet, right? Like it's the thing we've been doing for a while. And, there's too much focus on the completely wrong things, especially if, we have not yet attended to our basic, the light exposure, the environment that is conducive to human biology. So if you haven't listened to last week's episode, I highly recommend you go back. It was a good one. I talked about building your voltage and the thyroid gut circadian triad or triangle. I can't remember what the title was, but go back one and check that out if you haven't already. So that you can keep up with where we're heading, because I build my episodes upon each other. Now, since it's fall, I wanted to also mention a past episode I did in 2023, September 23rd. The title was Rewilding Our Plates, Embracing Seasonal Eating at the Fall Equinox. That's a good one, too, if you're trying to honor the season and nature's rhythms and you want to, embrace this nature-based way. And, just really check in on what you're choosing to put on your plate in the season we are in. Today, I want to dive into something that's been coming up in my own musings lately, something that connects directly to the foundational work we talked about last week. And it's about what happens after you start doing the healing work, right? So what's been coming up for me lately is in my journaling, I do morning musings. Those stream of consciousness thoughts that happen when you're actually present and able to pay attention to what's happening in your body, your life, And I've noticed something really interesting. Now, I can see things clearing up in my own healing journey, which is such a relief. There's genuine progress happening. It's like the more you clear out, the more you can clear out. But I can also still see what needs to be cleared up. What's still there waiting to be addressed, right? And I realize a lot of times, because I hear this with clients, most people, when they get to this point where they cleared something out, they focus entirely on the second part. Like, what's still, Lydia's air quoting, wrong? Like, what do I still need to fix? What's not working yet? Which isn't entirely a bad thing. It's just if your come from is, this fixing only mindset, you know, it's a challenge, right? Because we are so conditioned to focus on problems that we can't even recognize the clearing process when it's happening right in front of us, right? And I think we've been trained to look for what's broken instead of what's healing, instead of our progress. And this connects directly to what I talked about last week with the circadian work, because getting circadian aligned it's a rebuilding process that you have to stick with. And I say rebuilding because we didn't live circadian aligned all the time we've been on the planet, like most of us, right? So there's this whole trust the process thing that comes in, right? But honestly, I have to pause for a second because that phrase feels so cliche anymore. We hear it left and right all over the place. But I think no one actually knows what the fuck the process even is, right? And here's the thing. Are we even supposed to know the exact process, y'all? What we do know is how humans are hardwired to be biologically aligned with nature. I'm going to talk about my garden this year in a minute, but I knew my garden was going to grow, right? I knew certain things were going to happen. But I didn't know the exact process and unfolding because you cannot predict that. There are too many variables. But society has been structured to try to produce consistent, predictable, measurable outcomes on repeat, like a conveyor belt in a factory, right? To make us think that we can know exactly how everything's going to go, which is false. And it's a setup, right? It's a conditioning problem that we have. And this is where it really shows up and screws us over, because we've been programmed by a system that teaches us to expect results on a timeline. And I can talk about all the systems, but let's just use the compulsory education system for a minute, because most of us went through that, right? If you think about it, every day you have to shove information into your brain because at the end of the week there's going to be a quiz or a test, or the end of the quarter you're going to get a grade, and if you don't pass the quiz test class, you fail, and if you fail, you might have to stay back, and if you stay back, then you're not making progress, and if you're not making progress, then something's wrong with you, right? Like, obviously that's all implied, right? But meanwhile, shoving all that information into your brain doesn't actually teach you how to live your life. It means nothing if you can't integrate what you're learning into action and transformation and real growth. So we've been conditioned into this false narrative, like bigger, better, faster, more, grow, 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 build fast, results only, make shit happen, results, 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 right? Well, what are the results? Did you have an outcome? Show me the metrics. And then we take this same energy, which to me feels very frantic, maybe, into our healing journey. We want to know, am I getting better? What are my numbers? Did my symptoms improve? Are my labs better? When will I feel normal? But real growth, actual healing and transformation doesn't look like the fake growth we've been taught to chase. Real growth looks like tending a garden through seasons, through weather you can't control, through cycles that honestly don't even care about your timeline. Okay, so when you try to heal your body like you're cramming for a test, you miss the actual process that creates lasting change. Now, I think there's a lot of wisdom that can come out of gardening. So, I want to share some of the things my garden has taught me about real growth because it's strikingly similar to healing our bodies. This year, I planted multiple garden beds, and yes, I had successes. I saw things sprout and bloom and produce, but I also noticed areas where I could have done better, right? Some seeds didn't take, some plants grew slower than I was expected them to, and then there were surprises hadn't anticipated. At first, I don't know, I got frustrated a little here and there, and I was like, "Oh, I didn't do that right," or whatever, right? Like, but then I realized, it's all learning. The garden doesn't operate on my schedule. There are variables that I'm not considering yet. Nature follows its own cycles, its own timing, its own rules. There's just so many factors, right? And healing works the same way. Our bodies are not like machines we can force into outcomes. We can do some of the right things like, getting the sun, watering, we could say fertilizing, right? Like making sure the right nutrients are there, the right microbial balance is there, right? But if we do them in like the wrong balance, the wrong order, too much of them and not enough of the other, or like even at the wrong time, we can experience resistance or burnout or frustration or imbalance, right? Because the way we approach it isn't it's not totally linear. It's about working with the natural cycles with the foundational pieces, and not trying to override them or overdo one thing because I read fertilizer was great. I'm going to go fertilize the shit out of my garden, but then I'm going to forget to water it, right? Or you get my point, right? And now I noticed that my garden thrives when I respect all the fundamental foundational needs it has, right? Like making sure I'm planting things that they're going to be able to get enough sunlight, right? Enriching the soil before planting, amending it as I go, letting the compost do its work, right? Like thoroughly, like don't just add uncomposted compost, right? Like, before you expect flowers to bloom, like the variables need to be there, right? And some plants might even need some help. They might need some protection from wind, or they might need to be positioned in a certain place, right? So they can get a little more shade than some plants that need more sun, right? And some benefit from the pollinators, right? Like you want to carefully invite those into the space by what you plant as well, right? Each element depends on timing and balance and understanding the ecosystem as a whole. And our bodies are ecosystems too. And when we focus on only forcing results, like the whole chasing symptom fixes or, trying to follow every new protocol on the internet these days, oh man, we miss the subtle signs of progress, right? Growth can happen very quietly, often in ways we can't immediately measure. It's in the small changes, the improved sleep. Maybe you're not sleeping perfect still, but it's better than it was, right? Or you have a little more energy through the day, so your mood is better, right? And your digestion is slowly improving to where you can eat more or, move your bowels better or be less bloated, even if it's still funky, right? Like growth happens and we can't expect perfection overnight, right? Like the seedlings of transformation, if you will, right? So the magic is really learning to observe, to honor, to nurture the process rather than constantly judging the pace, right? When we get ahead of ourselves, forcing better before the foundation is really ready, we risk undoing the very progress we're trying to create. But when we work with the cycles, both in nature and in our own bodies, we build something resilient, sustainable, and flourishing. So, this is why building your terrain matters. It's not about rushing to the end result. It's about setting up the soil, planting the seeds, tending the compost, trusting that growth will happen when the timing is right because all the elements are there for it to happen. And when you understand this, you can finally see and celebrate the subtle clearing and rebuilding. I say rebuilding because we all have some rebuilding to do these days. That's what the body does, by the way. We can miss it. It's already happening within us and we can miss it. So when you start seeing your own clearing and rebuilding, and honor it, you realize that the real work isn't about forcing results. It's about learning the right elements, the right order, follow the natural rhythm, nurture your foundation so everything can actually thrive. Now, if what I'm saying today and what I'm describing resonates with you, the idea that lasting sustainable growth takes the right elements and time, that clearing and rebuilding are just a part of a natural process, and that trusting your own body's rhythms is key, uh, and you want more help to do this in your own journey, then I want to invite you to take the next step with the Rewilded Wellness Program. Okay. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. It's not about chasing a quick fix. It's not about universal protocols that work for everyone else or results by next month or week. Although you will have some, it's just, you know, it's really about building your terrain. It's about the long game, right? The foundation of your body, your energy, your resilience. We talked about voltage last week. So that your system can thrive in the long term, right? Just like that garden I just discussed with you, right? We're not just planting seeds, we're nurturing the soil, we're building compost, we're protecting pollinators, we're increasing diversity, we're watching things grow over time, right? See all the nuance and layers here? So, I have this 6-month deeply personalized program. I combine the hair tissue mineral analysis for the your adaptation pattern, the biome effects for your gut ecology, your genetic mutation data gives us really deep insights as well. And even your astrology birth chart to give you a complete understanding of your unique body ecology. And this is where we can create a plan that works with your rhythms, supports your constitution, supports your current soil terrain, if you will, right? Like you think about that. And then just really strengthens your system from the inside out. So, I think a lot of people are in this point of time where they feel like they're their own science experiment because they're trying all these different things and it's not truly sticking. So if you are feeling that resonate with you, like you've just tried a bunch of things, it's like now it's to the point where like some stuff's sticking and some stuff's not, and you want to start building something that actually lasts. I have space later in October to get started. So you can reach out by emailing me at connect@lydiajoy.me. I will leave the link below to read more in depth about this program. And then you just have to reach out so we can chat to see if this is a good fit for you and reserve your place and begin your terrain building journey. So I'm just going to keep sharing with you guys so we stop rushing the process and learn to work with the process, right? Nature shows us what this is. It's been showing us for thousands and thousands of years. Now it's time that we in the modern world honor that as well. So I hope you found a good aha moment or takeaway or some wisdom in this episode today. And I will be back soon to share more with you. Until then, stay wild and stay well.